Real-time strategy fans are likely one of the most dedicated groups of people out there. While most gamers are simply nostalgic for what they played in the good old days, RTS players will go to unreasonably insane lengths to continue to enjoy the games they love, even if there's only a tiny fanbase left still there to support it. And that rabid ferocity to keep the dream alive is no stranger to Supreme Commander. Though I don't know why, as SupCom was the game that single-handedly killed the entire strategy genre by being so good that nothing would ever be able to compete. It was and still is one of the most beloved and iconic real-time strategy games of all time. Created near the tail end of the genre's golden age, it was an impeccable display of intense action, satisfying gameplay, and massive scale. At the time of its release, it brought PCs to their knees and kept gamers glued to their monitors while they quietly muttered to themselves, "Just one more game, then I'll get to bed, I swear." Chris Taylor and his team at Gas Powered Games had created something truly extraordinary. Building on what he'd learned from Total Annihilation, Supreme Commander secured him as one of the great developers of the genre, as much of a household name as anyone before or since. The game was a massive success, both commercially and critically, and the excellent standalone expansion Forged Alliance solidified it as one of the best the genre had ever seen. But despite the massive success Chris and the team had found, unbeknownst to them, Supreme Commander was not long for this world. Due to outside factors, an ultimately good but misplaced and criticised sequel, and a turbulent industry, Gas Powered Games folded like your grandma's rickety old deck chair not too long after SupCom 2 was released. You can learn more about the story of what happened with GPG in the interview I did with Chris a couple of years ago, and the retrospective I made on the whole series. Links in the description just below the like button. But you know what they say, you can't keep a good dog down, and thanks to having a fanbase as rabid as a pack of wild mutts, Supreme Commander in both name and spirit has seen a renaissance in the past years, with no signs of it slowing down. If anything, it's speeding up. Whether it's a simple mod, a complex community project, or even an entirely new game, massive scale, high action, real-time strategy robot warfare is as popular as ever, and I'm going to tell you all about it. This is the revival of Supreme Commander. If you're an ACU inhabiting Chad gamer, and if you're watching this video, then I presume you are, then you're likely no stranger to Loud and Forged Alliance Forever. Starting with the former, Loud is what you'd play if you're looking for what is likely the best co-op experience in Supreme Commander. It's been developed over nearly a decade and it completely reworks the bones and codebase of the game to optimize it in terms of performance, AI, unit trees, and more. It launches in parallel to the base game with its own launcher, so it doesn't overwrite any core files or bar you from playing the game vanilla without uninstalling it. The main sell, if you want to call it that, is the AI overhaul, making it leagues better for co-op play with your mates. Thanks to a lot of under-the-hood optimizations, it's smarter, more decisive, and a greater challenge. Though from what I understand, it's not the best when it comes to being a team player, so co-op with other, real humans is ideal. There are a specifically tailored set of maps that come with the installer too to best suit the new AI and keep performance smooth, because that is a big thing here. You can have games with thousands of units and enormous maps that run without the hitches and lag that you might be used to from the base game. It also comes packaged with subsets of other popular mods to expand unit rosters, alter tech trees, and give a more cohesive feel to the whole experience. You can enable and disable these at will, and there's a ton of other mods that will play nice with Loud if you want to add them manually. The project is being actively developed by a dedicated team, and you can download it on ModDB. If you're interested, there's also a Discord server. You'll find links for both in the description. I'll sing Loud's praises all day, however, the more ubiquitous and well-known mod is undoubtedly Forged Alliance Forever. Undeniably the flagship project that's risen from the ashes of Supreme Commander. And it's this that has basically solidified it as a game that will be upheld by its loving, and let's be honest here, aging community until every single one of them has ultimately died. You know that the last surviving fan will be playing Seaton's Clutch in their final seconds. Even Linus from Linus Tech Tips agrees, Forged Alliance Forever is the bee's knees. But for the uninitiated, What is it? Well, I'm glad you asked, dear strawman viewer. Simply put, it's a community project that allows for easy and simple online play for Forged Alliance. It includes matchmaking, a full ranked competitive suite, the ability to play the original campaigns in 4-player co-op, and integration with player-created mods and custom maps, to tailor the game to how you like. Or, as FAF's website puts it, its goal is to keep things fresh forever. And again, like Loud, it uses its own launcher and files, so in theory you could have both FAF and Loud installed at once and switch between them at will, depending on the type of game that you want to play. That's what I do. The most important thing Forged Alliance Forever brings is arguably the most intangible, and that's community. While technical features are impressive, what FAF has fostered in terms of an engaged and active player base is easily the most important factor in keeping Supreme Commander alive. Now yes, of course, you can choose to play solo or co-op with some friends if you wish, but the avenues available to find like-minded players and get involved in and become part of the community are about as open as they could be. Whether it's the public Discord, clan system, or public forum, pick your poison, or poisons for that matter. I'd argue that it's as painless as it's ever been to take part in Supreme Commander's community. That's important because, critically, this is not just for the hardcore. You know, the people who have been playing daily for 5, 10, 15 years. FAF makes it easy for anyone to enjoy Supreme Commander, even if you're brand new and have never even played a match before. Things like the exhaustive unit database, and fully fledged wiki complete with everything from tutorials to how to set up and play the game, to information on tournaments, live streams, strategy, and even map and mod development. It's all here to support you. Plus, the aforementioned Discord and forum are undoubtedly filled with people who would be more than happy to show you the ropes and get you started in enjoying what is arguably one of the best RTS games ever. I could go a lot deeper into the trenches of Forged Alliance Forever, but if what I've said already sounds interesting to you, then I encourage you step into its world at faforever.com. It likely goes without saying, but FAF is free. All you need is a copy of Forged Alliance on Steam or Good Old Games, so get in there. Now, lastly, before we move on, I do want to be clear here, there are a lot of projects and mods for Supreme Commander out there, and I do encourage you to investigate them yourself if you're interested. I don't have nearly enough time to give them all the credit that they deserve, but if you've got any favourites that you'd like to mention, do drop them in the comments. I'd love to see what you guys are playing. Some people's dedication extends further than just mods. And that's when we start to see entirely new games aimed solely at improving, or at least recapturing, the magic of Supreme Commander. For example, we had Planetary Annihilation back in 2014, which frankly I wasn't the biggest fan of, but oh well, you can watch my review on that one. There's 0K, which by all accounts is fantastic, and it's free, and you can watch my video on that one too. And there's also Beyond All Reason, which I haven't personally experienced, but is looking pretty impressive, and it's amassing a decent fanbase behind it. And I'm sure there are others too. I can hear the comments already. But what I want to spend most of this section on though is Sanctuary, a relatively new face that's picking up significant momentum right now, and it's due for a Kickstarter early next year. The game is already in development though, and it's important to note that its release is not going to be dependent on a successful crowdfunding campaign. So the main idea behind Sanctuary is, well, actually, you know what, why don't we call the dev and let him explain? I'm sure he'll do a better job than I could.
Sanctuary is a new game that I'm making with my team of 20 people that is about war, I guess. It's set on our Earth, in our solar system and everything, but, you know, like 10,000 years into the future. Humanity in that future has, you know, more or less allied around the idea that, yeah, we need some place that's more permanent to live. So what do? Well, they build a Dyson sphere using pretty much all the matter in the solar system, and, you know, meant to be this permanent paradise for humanity to live for millions and millions of years. So they dub it the Sanctuary, which is where the name of the game comes from. Obviously, things go awry. There's you know, three factions that form. One is the EDA, which is a coalescence of all humans, And then you have the Chosen, which are ascended humans that have a digital consciousness that's uploaded into their big racks, their servers, and eventually this culminated in a conflict breaking out. Now there's like the moon that was to be docked with with Sanctuary, so it was the strap boosters to it and started moving it to its Sanctuary, but part ways through that movement, it was hijacked and it crashed into Sanctuary. That this creates big, long-lasting consequences because the matter that's catapulted into space keeps orbiting and falling back and keeps creating destruction and everything. So it's a calamity of epic proportions. Guard is the third faction that steps in, which is the AIs and robots that were originally tasked with creating the Dyson Sphere. They've been let loose by the AI that was governing them, and they formed together into a new faction that no longer is tied to the AI or the Dyson Sphere, and now they have their own agency. So they kind of step in between the two, and now you have a three-way war going on. We want to hopefully give you a really good experience of that through our campaign, if we get to develop a campaign. But yeah, we have a lot of ideas for a more extended lore. We're working with lore writer volunteers who are providing exceptional aid in that department. So yeah, we've got a lot of cool ideas to do with that. So the first RTS and first game I ever played was Homeworld, quickly followed by StarCraft, and my journey was searching for different games, and I played Homeworld 2, and I was like, okay, good, but now what's the next big thing that's gonna scratch my itch and everything? And I searched for a while. And looking all through different games on YouTube, which was starting to be a thing at the time, I found Supreme Commander. I was like, yeah, I think that's it. And I bought a CD off eBay, which was a thing that we did at the time, and tried it. And I was like, yeah, hell yeah. Sanctuary is or hopes to be a spiritual successor to Supreme Commander. It's Sanctuary is that, and trying to take it further, right? So it's more than a carbon copy, if that's what you're asking, but it's also definitely taking inspiration from what I perceive to be a very strong title. Enduring communities for Supreme Commander, for example, that has VAF and Loud. FAF stands for Forge Lines Forever. Well, that community has lived up to its name, right? It's probably going to live forever, really. The idea with Sanctuary is that I want to build something that's in the same kind of vein, right? There's a reason why I'm building the game to be able to run without a central server. It's that I want it to be able to, have the community take over, just like happened with Supreme Commander, and have that title continue to live on its own. Same reason we focus very hard on modding and mapping. If there's all that creative aspect to it, then the community really gets to express itself, and all that expression and everything brings in other people. It keeps the cycle going. It keeps the evolution of the game. All the things that I mentioned, like the changes to the balance, to the meta. To the gameplay itself, when changes are core changes to how you interact with the game, and the stats and everything of the units are made. Well, those or new units and everything are introduced, but they're made vanilla. I want it to be that kind of game that likewise just continues forever and ever and ever, even if it's with a smaller size community of 20,000 people or something like that. That would be a dream come true for me.
So that's Sanctuary, and I've got to admit, it's looking sweet. The creator of Supreme Commander, Chris Taylor, thinks so too, and that's got to count for something. And consider looking at their Kickstarter once it's up if you're interested in supporting them. There's also a link in the description for the full interview I did with Tatsu from Sanctuary. It's a good watch, and I think you'd find it interesting, so go check it out. Clearly, the heart of Supreme Commander is still beating strong. And I think it's important to note, whether you're a fan of the original as is, Forged Alliance Forever, Loud, one of these new games, or yes, even Supreme Commander 2, we're all doing our part in keeping the dream alive, and keeping the games we love in the hearts, minds, and hard drives of players all over the world. Thanks again, Chris. You made a pretty darn good game, I reckon. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to support me, consider joining my Patreon. Doing so will get you access to the Discord, which is where we hang out, play games, and just chat about RTS. So if you're interested, do consider signing up. I hugely appreciate it. And you'll join existing legends like Aero, Crizzy218, George Rain, Jack Walsh, Nutty Jawa, Overlord Jebus, T-Edits, Crispy Robo Chicken, Dekayo, David Deboli, Ludwig Pervertoni, and Standby for Systems Nominal. Thanks again, and I'll see you all next time.